Now, Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8:37, Neiman Wilson with you. Monday morning with Brian and Brian. Mark Levin is on the line, host of course, the Mark Levin Radio Show that you hear every weekday night from 6 to 9 on WMAL. His new book out is called Ameritopia. That's on the New York Times bestseller list, of course. Good morning, Mark.
Brian, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing when it comes to the economy? Are you like the private sector and everything is fine with you as well, like the president says?
Listen, everything's fine with me, and I think we should have Obama have more of these little press conferences, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But, look, you had a lounge act on there called Lanny Davis earlier.
Yes.
And basically you're saying, Obama created 4.3 million jobs. Actually, we're 500,000 jobs less than January 2009. We got 12.7 million people still unemployed, 8.1 million who are holding part-time jobs, who went full-time jobs. I add that up to 15%. GDP growth last year was 1.9%. You got 49 million Americans in poverty, the highest level in 51 years since we've had records. You got 45 million people on food stamps, the highest level in American history. You've got 47% of Americans who receive government benefits. You've got millions who dropped out of the workforce, and that's after he spent $5.5 trillion more in debt. And Lanny thinks this is a success, so I'm assuming Obama's going to run on this record.
Well, Lanny said it was a gaffe. Is it a gaffe, or does the president really think that the economy is doing fine, or the private sector is doing fine?
Well, no, it's an ideological problem. See, these guys want to kill the golden goose, and they're sitting around waiting for the golden eggs. Well, you got to take your hands off the golden goose's throat so it can create those eggs, which you guys can then steal and redistribute. But you can't keep your foot on the throat of the economy like they do. And it's not just redistributing wealth and this coming ObamaCare if it's not struck down. It's these massive regulations, and they're not attacking the rich and the billionaires and the millionaires. They're attacking farmers and coal miners and oil workers and truckers and fishermen and everything across the society.
We had this comment about the private sector's doing fine, and that caused a big brouhaha. Almost unnoticed was what he said about going to start. We care about security leaks. We don't like them, and we want to do something about them. He talked about we don't allow security leaks at my White House. Did you catch that?
I caught it, and what we need is a few people under oath in front of a grand jury to say the same thing, because I think if I were running this investigation, I don't think it would be that complicated. I've been hammering on this for 3 months. I've been hammering on it since the bin Laden matter, and they put out all but the identity of this doctor, which was a disgrace in Pakistan. And if you look at most of the leaks, they all benefit Obama and his policies. Obama ordered more spies and drones out there. That's how we got the second underwear bomber. That had nothing to do with it. It was the Brits and the Saudi Arabians working with the CIA. I've worked with the CIA before when I worked in the Reagan administration. I can promise you those folks are furious with what's going on, and I can promise you the FBI is furious. This is coming from political hacks at the highest level of the White House. John McCain, for once, is exactly right.
Do you think that the hiring or putting 2 prosecutors on this case to look into it is going to actually come up with a person or persons who actually did the leaking? I mean, do you think that they will get to the bottom of it with these prosecutors?
Well, I'm troubled by this. Why would you appoint 2 prosecutors? I mean, I don't even remember anything like this being done. 2 prosecutors to investigate what is ostensibly the same general problem, leaking out of this White House. And if this were Republican, you'd be hearing Chuck Schumer. Where is Chuck Schumer? Is he in the witness protection program? I don't even hear him on this.
He was out over the weekend talking about the airline industry and the seats, and you can't have a family sitting together.
Does he not like the pretzels he gets on the airline?
He doesn't like the fact that you have to you're charging more for window and aisle seats.
Oh, I see. Well, why don't we just nationalize it and kill the airline industry altogether? But anyway, here's the thing. You really need 1 prosecutor in charge. I have no faith whatsoever in Eric Holder. I don't trust him. He's the most political attorney general in my lifetime, and that includes Mitchell in the Nixon administration.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you something. I don't like the fact that these guys ultimately report to him. I'm not a big special prosecutor guy, but if there was ever a case, these leaks are unbelievable, and it's one after another, and they go to the core of our national security.
Well, it's interesting because Joe DeGenova this morning said that the two prosecutors that have been put on this case, one was appointed, I guess, was a holdover from the Bush administration.
Correct.
The other is a new one. So maybe they're trying to be bipartisan.
So what?
Yeah.
Institutionally, it's bizarre to have two different prosecutors investigating what will be overlapping areas. This is intended to create some ambiguity, diversion, and so forth. They don't want a special prosecutor because it doesn't sound good, and it may be a problem for them.
All right, so it is entirely possible, not for certain, but entirely possible today or someday soon, the Supreme Court will come down with their Supreme Court ruling about Obamacare. Many people believe, based on the way the questioning went, that parts of Obamacare might be struck down. Any thoughts?
I don't know if they'll rule today. Typically, the big decision is on the last day the court meets, and I don't know when that is, but it'll definitely be soon. Yeah, I heard your lounge act earlier on this saying the Supreme Court has never overturned a law like this, which shows you how little he knows. The fact is, Congress has never passed a law like this, and a president has never signed it. And as soon as the American people could get to this Congress, they threw out the Speaker, changed the majority in the House, they almost changed the majority in the Senate, and they wanted to throw the president out. This is unconstitutional on many fronts. It's not just the individual mandate. We've never seen anything like this before. But it's a complete destruction of the 10th Amendment. Medicaid is a partner program with the states and federal government. These exchanges, basically, the federal government, the Obama administration, would dictate to the states how 25% of their budget, because that's how much goes into Medicaid, would be handled. There's two other issues, whether there's severability, more technical, whether you can just deal with the individual mandate or not. And then there's one other issue, the Anti-Injunction Act, that is whether or not the court should hear the case at all. My guess is that won't fly. But one of the arguments you can hear, and was made on your show this morning, while I was eating my 2 donuts and drinking my Diet Coke.
Your 20-ounce Diet Coke.
I'm going to produce 17-ounce cups. I'll see how those fly in New York.
There you go.
But anyway, so one of the arguments they make is people should not get a free ride, right?
Yeah.
They should all be forced to get in this. Then on the other side of their mouth, they say, we need these people in the system to help pay for it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Well, it can't be both. Are they draining the system or are they paying for this? The truth is, most of these people are healthy. Most of them are younger. Most of them have other priorities that they're trying to pay for, like an automobile or maybe clothing and food or a new baby or something like that, and they put it off, and they aren't sick. And so the fact of the matter is, it's not that most of these 30 million people have to be covered because they're freeloaders. It's just like Social Security and Medicare. Most of these 30 million are going to be carrying the weight for the others. And so that's a big problem.
All right. Well, if the ruling does come down, there's nobody better to listen to on the radio that evening than Mark Levin. It's always great to have you on, Mark.
Thanks very much. Thanks a lot for joining us.